that we give you with so much effort. Thank you. From Lima, thank you so much. So here we are with Gloria Casambulos and with Marianne Milagros Gomez. I will introduce to you every one of them. Gloria Casambulos is an environmentalist concerned about the global climate change and other environmental crises. She has dedicated her life to promoting environmental ethics, sustainable use of natural resources, and preserving the natural environment for future generations. Through her work as the founder of Bridge That Gap initiative, she created a network of civil society and environment, raising awareness on the current climate crises, influencing environmental actions, and confronting the complexities of environmental governance in Nigeria. Gloria's educational background includes an MCCS in Natural Resource Management and Climate Change and Renewable Energy. She also has a PhD in Geographic Information System and BSc in Environmental Studies and Research Management. She was trained as a climate reality leader in 2017 in Seattle, Washington, State of America, and currently the West Africa Regional Coordination for African Climate Reality Project, and she also awarded with the Green Ring by Mr. Al Gore. So hello, Gloria. It's awesome to have you here. I'm so honored for your presence.
Hi, Carrie. Good to see you after so many years. You look beautiful.
You look beautiful too, girl.
Thank you, Carrie. I love you so much.
We studied together. We studied together in the United States. She's my friend. She's awesome. She's the most popular girl in Nigeria for me. I love you so much. We have a lot of since 2017 we are friends. So I am honored to have you here. So Gloria, please, we're expecting your presentation. So please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Thank you for putting up this global event and for having me speak at this event. I really appreciate, and I'm glad you're taking action, and we will always take action to address the climate crisis. So let me get down to my presentation, but I would like to share my screen. Let me get my screen up.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you share it?
Yep,
okay.
I'm coming.
Okay.
Is it working? Because I just stopped it. Okay.
Okay, yes, it's working. Just go with the slides, please.
Oh, I actually stopped it. So just give me a few minutes.
Okay. Hi, Mariam. How are you? I will go with you. Thank you for being here.
Okay.
Your microphone.
Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it. We can see it.
Okay. So that's fine. I think I can go ahead with my presentation. Sorry, can you see the slide?
Yes, we see it. You can go.
Sorry?
Yes, okay.
Okay. So Carrie has introduced me already. I will go ahead with my presentation. So my name is Gloria Casambulos from Nigeria. I'll be speaking on the title, Adapting Governance in Addressing Climate Change. And so this is a very important field that I find really very interesting and very important in our present day situation and issues of climate crisis. And so for us to effectively address climate crisis, we must be able to understand governance processes. We must be able to work hand in hand with the government to address the climate change issues we're experiencing. And so what is climate governance? Climate governance goes beyond the science of climate change. It looks at the social, economic, and political issues related to climate change. It approaches climate change from a right and sustainable development perspective and interrogates political and financial processes involved towards achieving change from the global perspective to the national and local. And why do we have to engage in climate governance? Climate governance is all about negotiating priorities, decision-making, commitments, obligations while working towards adaptation and mitigation. We need climate governance because it is concerned with structure and processes for decision-making, accountability, control, and behavior at the top. When I say at the top, I mean at the hem of decision-making. That is with the government, with our elected leaders. It involves government decisions, policies, and laws, including the framework for achieving the goals set in the Paris Agreement. Initially, climate change was approached as a global issue, and climate governance sought to address it on the international stage. However, there are gaps that have been identified in climate governance. And what are these gaps? First, we have lack of inclusive approach. The governance process is not all inclusive. There is lack of transparency. There is inadequate political will, lack of interest by citizens in climate governance, and then inadequate responsiveness or little or no responsiveness, and much more. And so the responsiveness could be from the side of the government. It could be even from the side of the citizens. And so let's have a glance at the international level. What do we have at the international level? So when we're looking at international level in terms of climate governance, we're looking at the Paris Agreement. In 2015, nearly 2,000 countries committed to work together to slash emissions and solve the climate crisis through the historic Paris Agreement. The agreement sets ambitious goals that require action from every nation. The Paris Agreement aims to keep global average temperature rise to well below 2 degrees Celsius while working to hold it under 1.5 degrees Celsius. The agreement sets a target of peaking global emissions as soon as possible, then aiming for net zero greenhouse gas emissions in the second half of the century. To achieve these goals, every country submits an action plan, which is known as a nationally determined commitment, the NDCs, every 5 years, progressively strengthening the plan over time. So the accord establishes new frameworks for measuring, reporting, and verifying emissions reduction and providing capacity building for less developed countries. So the result is a global framework for action to solve the climate crisis. So fortunately, other nations are stepping up and on track to overachieve their Paris Agreement. For example, looking at China and India, who are projected to reduce global carbon emissions roughly by 2 to 3 billion metric tons by 2030, which is just 10 years to go, due largely to positive developments in coal restrictions in both countries. Now, global climate action needs to be more ambitious. The current set of global countries' emissions pledges and targets still fall short of what is needed to prevent global temperatures from rising more than 2 degrees Celsius. So you see, there's actually a defect, there's a deficit in the target. So analysis also suggests that while many countries' current climate action commitments are insufficient and not consistent with keeping global temperature rise below 2 degrees Celsius, the commitments are critically insufficient in countries like Russia, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, the United States of America, Ukraine, and Vietnam. The commitment made by these countries could lead to global temperature rise of more than 4 degrees Celsius. But then a growing number of countries are setting targets towards carbon neutrality by mid-century. Countries like Chile, Costa Rica, New Zealand, France, and the United Kingdom. And so this year, 2020, marks a critical year for raising ambition on climate commitments. And it is the first year that parties to the Paris Agreement will begin submitting a new and enhanced climate plans. So this is often referred to as the Paris Agreement retort mechanism. Although the UN COP26 conference to review these plans have been delayed due to COVID-19, but more ambitious climate plans are expected in 2020. So this is a year of action. This is a year of more commitment by the government. So let's look at what is expected from the government. What are their commitment level? So, sorry, hold on a minute. So let's look at government commitment on climate change. First, the government needs to have political commitment for decarbonization. There's also a need to have an institutional framework put in place to achieve its emissions reduction target. The processes it has established to develop, implement, and review mitigation policies, and also ability and willingness to engage relevant stakeholders on policy development. And so there are enablers for effective climate governance. And what are these enablers? First, the government have to be transparent and accountable. So we're talking about transparency and accountability. There has to be an action plan. There has to be a framework. There has to be a legislation. There has to be stakeholders involvement and citizens participation. I'll dwell more on citizens participation because this is where you and I need to take the lead. This is where it concerns you and I and the world out there. But first of all, let's look at what the type of governance we have. We have bad governance and we have good governance. So what is this bad governance all about? Inefficiency, the red tape, maladministration, corruption, and secrecy. But then good governance talks about rule of law, transparency, participation, accountability, and overall sustainability. And this is where we need to know where we stand for. So as citizens, we go for good governance. And so what is this citizens participation all about? Why is it so important? So citizens engagement plays a very important role for effective climate governance, because where climate governance necessitates change at a behavioral level, there is a need to educate the public in order to achieve this. And this is where citizens come in. So secondly, effective community engagement ensures that climate governance policies are relevant to the communities in which they are intended to be applied. This necessitates a process of a bottom-up learning, as ideas are passed up from one local to national level. So it's a bottom-up approach. It starts from the grassroots. It is important for any government to involve citizens in projects being undertaken. In governance, citizens' participation involves the public evaluation of own needs depending on the problems that they are experiencing, and taking part in project planning, budget monitoring, infrastructure monitoring, and so many other monitoring of so many government projects. This is important as it involves public resource management and reduces corruption. Citizens' participation also makes leaders and political leaders to be answerable to the people they serve. For citizen participation to work, then there's a need for transparency of government information. Information is power, and it helps citizens to make the right choice, and also gives room for inclusiveness and makes citizens feel they're being carried along. So inclusion of members into decision-making groups is actually very important. And so the basis for citizens' participation ranges from freedom of expression and access to information. So there's a need to understand as citizens our right to participate in governance issues. So we need to do a lot of civic education around governance so that we can enlighten the communities and everyone around us. So engaging citizens in local governance increases accountability and ability for those in power to increase awareness and also increase the numbers of quality initiatives made by communities. So there's a need for the government to prioritize areas for reforms and then also to make it participatory. So to achieve transparent and efficient governance, it is important that a strategy that includes participatory methodologies and tools to promote an open and participatory governance is put in place. And that is why it is important that we have an accountability mechanism. And so this accountability mechanism is for citizens to make greater contributions. For citizens to make greater contributions, government needs to provide the conditions for effective involvement. Accountability mechanism in climate change can help make international commitments successful in mitigating climate change, reducing emissions, and protecting the vulnerable persons, vulnerable groups, vulnerable countries. And so accountability mechanisms help us to checkmate what policies the government have put in ground, what actions they are taking. And so another important strategy is adaptive governance, which is where the government is prepared for uncertainties. Attention is focused on solutions for resilience in governing institutions where there is uncertainty in the climate. So,
Gloria?
hello?
Yes, you
Yep.
have 1 minute, please.
I have how many minutes?
1 minute.
1 minute. And so let me just round up. And so we also have to engage in market-based mechanism to address climate change, which to reduce the greenhouse by trading carbon credits. So carbon markets governance allows carbon emissions in one place to be enhanced with emissions reductions in another. And so what is the future of climate governance? We're looking at clean transportation, more efficient and cleaner energy production, better water uses and management, greener buildings, clean and efficient waste management, improve land usage through sustainable farming and forestry. And it is actually very important that gender is mainstreamed into climate governance, the media involved, and also young people are involved in climate governance. And so I leave you with this thought. Many countries have vowed to put a peg to ongoing greenhouse gas emissions by the year 2020, some 2025 and 2030. It has not, which is not far from now. We're already in 2020. But have you seen the greenhouse gas emissions levels started reducing? This is where it is important for you and I to begin to ask questions, to begin to engage in climate governance. That way will ensure that most countries that have vowed to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions keep to that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gloria. That was impressive. Thank you so much for that. So now I am saying hello to Mariam Milagros Gomez from Philippines. Hi, Mariam. How are you?
Hello. I was waiting for the ID.
Yes, I know. But you're here. So we are so blessed
Yes.
to have you here. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, I
Hi,
will introduce you to the public. Okay. Mariam Milagros Gomez is a founding member of the Public Doctor Foundation. She is a fellow from the Obama Foundation. She's a global leader and mentor for Climate Reality Project USA. She's a member of Green Guard Nature Organization. She's a teacher. She's ambassador for Team 54 Climate Change Quest for Africa. She's a global volunteer for United Nations International Strategy for Disaster Reduction, and she's a member Brotherhood of Christian Businessmen and Professionals. Thank you so much for here being with us. Please, Mariam, we are expecting your presentation right now. So go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you, Carrie, for inviting me to this Congress. And my talk is about the role of the academy in educating people about environment, laws, and inspiring them to become environment advocates. So I would like to share my screen.
Yes, please. Go ahead. You have to, like, did you? There you go. Thank you. There you go. Now we see you.
Okay.
There you go, Mariam.
Okay. Can you see my
Yes, we
presentation?
can see your screen. Role of the
Okay.
academic in environmental education. Yes.
Okay. So the role of the academic environmental education. The academe, like most of the schools, colleges, and universities in the world, with environmental centers, aim at encouraging students to become environmentalists and help in developing environmental advocacy to sectors of vulnerable communities affecting affected by extreme environmental events, and to initiate some community projects, researches, and programs that in some ways will make gradual changes in the protection of the environment. As teachers, we spend most of our time in the workplace where we meet hundreds and thousands of young and old learners. That is why we have all the opportunity to be their greatest influencer. As early as preschool, learners should be taught about the importance of caring for the environment. Teachers must integrate in every aspect of their teaching to the learners the love and care for nature and environment. Though parents at home may teach their kids to love and care for the environment, it has been known that teachers are more influential to the learners.
I'm sorry, Mariam, your slides are not going through. We're
Oh,
stuck
yes,
in
yes.
the first one, just to let you know.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah,
So
you have
we
to
are
go
now
with the
on the
slide.
environmental education on the global perspective. So there was a research conducted by NPR, a national poll recently, and found that was more than 8 in 10 teachers and a similar majority of parents support teaching kids about climate change. But in reality, it's not always happening. Fewer than half of the K to 12 teachers told the researchers that they talk about climate change with their children or students. Again, parents were about the same. I would like to present to you this is statistical data from NPR polls of 505 teachers conducted March 21 to 29. The credibility interval for the overall sample is 5% points. This question was asked of the 55% of the teachers who said they do not teach climate change. Respondents could select up to three answers. The other and the don't know responses were not shown. The top reason that teachers gave the poll was not covering climate change was 65% says that it's not related to subject they teach, 20% say students are too young, 20% says they don't know about it, 17% say they don't have the materials to teach the subject, 8% says they don't believe in climate change, 6% says that the state mandates it to be taught at the different grade level. 4% says that the school won't allow it, and 2% says that students have already learned it in schools. Yet at the same time, they also heard from teachers and education organizations who are introducing the topic in subjects from social studies to math to English languages, arts, and every grade level from preschool on up. That raises the question, where does climate change belong to the curriculum anyway? So we have here some according to the International Journal of Environmental and Science Education, environmental education holds a unique place in formal public education. Okay. When considering the importance and objectives of environmental education, the United Nations Environmental, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO, in 1975 articulated the following. 7 research questions were examined to provide nuanced information about science teachers' attitudes and instructional practices considering environmental education. First, to what extent are science teachers familiar with technological and or environmental problems discussed at the 2007 United Nations Climate Change Conference? Number 2, what rationales are offered by science teachers for including or not including technological or environmental threats to the environment in science classroom instruction? Number 3, to what extent do science teachers report including technological and or environmental problems in science classroom instruction? Number 4, what are the main sources of information that teachers use for attaining information about environmental problems or threats? Then, number 5, what do teachers think is most important to teach in science classes? Number 6, what do science teachers perceive as the most significant problem or threat to the environment? And lastly, number 7, what role does religion play in science teachers' decisions about teaching environmental issues in a science classroom? We now proceed to the top 10 benefits of environmental education. The first one is imagination and enthusiasm are heightened. It is hands on, interactive learning that sparks the imagination and unlocks creativity. Number two, learning transcends the classroom. Not only does it offers opportunities for experiential learning outside in the classroom, it enables students to make connections and apply their learning in the real world. Number three, critical and creative thinking skills are enhanced. It encourages students to research, investigate how and why things happen, and make their own decisions about complex environmental issues. Number four, tolerance and understanding are supported. It encourages students to investigate varying sides of issues to understand the full picture. Number five, state and national learning standards are met for multiple subjects. By incorporating environmental education practices into the curriculum, teachers can integrate science, math, language, arts, history, and other each lessons or activity. Number six, biophobia and natural deficit disorder decline. By exposing students to nature and allowing them to learn and play outside, environmental education fosters sensitivity, appreciation, and respect for the environment. It combats nature deficit disorder, and it's fun. Number seven, healthy lifestyles are encouraged. It gets students outside and active and helps address some of the health issues we are seeing in children today. Number eight, we have communities are strengthened. It promotes a sense of place and connection through community involvement. Number nine, responsible action is taken to better the environment. It helps students understand how their decisions and actions affect the environment, builds knowledge and skills necessary to address complex environmental issues. And number 10, we have students and teachers are empowered. It promotes active learning, citizenship, and student leadership. It empowers youth to share their voice and make a difference in their school and in their communities. So why do we think that environmental education is important? It is because environmental education benefits students, schools, and our larger world. Okay. So environmental education benefits schools and educators by creating enthusiastic students, fostering innovative teacher leaders, addressing academic standards, saving schools money. And according to the economists of the global trends, it is estimated that by 2030, the world population of 7 billion will demand twice as many resources as the planet can supply. Meeting the needs of our global citizenry ecologically, economically, culturally, spiritually, and more requires understanding and creative problem solving. Environmental education equips learners with the knowledge, skills, and motivation to address complex environmental challenges in the 21st century. So, what are the environmental education benefits? So, environmental education benefits students by number one, improving academic achievement. It improves test scores by providing students with engaging lessons about the natural world that can be applied to all subject areas and grades. Number two, breaking the indoor habit. It offers an antidote to the plugged-in lives of today's generation, which is the first to grow up indoors. Children who are experienced school grounds or play areas with diverse natural settings are more physically active, more aware of good nutrition, more creative, and more civil to one another. Number three, it improving student health. It gets students outdoors and active and helps to address common health issues in children today, such as obesity, attention deficit disorder, and depression. Number four, we have supporting STEM. It offers an engaging platform for gaining and applying knowledge and skills in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We call it STEM. Number five, meeting the 21st century needs. It emphasizes skills essential for succeeding in tomorrow's world, such as questioning, investigating, defining problems, analyzing, interpreting, reasoning, developing conclusions, and solving problems. Number six, cultivating leadership qualities. It emphasizes cooperative learning with others, critical thinking and discussion, and a focus on action strategies with real-world applications. Next, we have improving focus and cognition. It increases the ability of students to focus and improves their cognitive abilities. Children with attention deficit disorder also benefit from more exposure to nature. The greener a child's everyday environment, the more manageable their symptoms. Next, we have environmental education benefits the larger world by number one, fostering healthier education, healthier schools. Number two, supporting sound decision making. Number three, contributing to sustainability. And number four, conserving our natural resources. Higher levels of environmental knowledge correlate significantly with a higher degree of pro-environment and conservation behavior. The more people know, the more likely they are to recycle, to energy efficient, conserve water, and many others. So, research into benefits of environmental education. So, according to Dr. Nicole Aron at Stanford University Graduate School of Education and Woods Institute for the Environment, environmental education is about hope and change. There is a mountain of evidence that suggests that environmental education is a powerful way to teach students. Over 100 studies found that it provides transformative learning opportunities that bring tremendous results and engage young people in the world around them in meaningful, collaborative ways. There's no doubt that environmental education is one of the most effective ways to instill a passion for learning among students. A growing base of research is documenting the impacts of environmental education. So we have online libraries, online databases, and publications. So we have countries giving environmental awards for teachers. We have America, Europe, Asia. I know this is continents: America, Europe, Asia, and Oceania. So we have now the environmental education in the Philippine perspective.
Mariam,
Okay,
yes, you have like 10 seconds.
okay. So the Climate Change Commission of the Philippines and the Department of Education of the Philippines work hand in hand in the dissemination of environmental education scheme. So we have a a very bonding relationship with the Climate Change Commission. That's why the Department of Education is so lucky to have a supportive Secretary of Education, a Secretary of Climate Change Commission, which is the boss of Ludwig. Ludwig is also very supportive of the programs and projects of the Department of Education.
Thank you so
Okay,
much,
thank you.
Mariam. Thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you so much. It was amazing. We are running out of minutes. So I will thank you, both of you, for being here, for giving us the presentation that you gave. Gloria, thank you so much for being here with us for this first Planetarium Congress from El
Thank you,
Salvador,
Sarah.
from Mexico, from Argentina. with Lima. Lima is the one doing this. Lima has like all the words here, our Global Environmental Lawyers League. So thank you so much for being here. Definitely we will want 1 hour with each one of you so you can present again. I mean, there's a Q&A online questions that I cannot make for time issues, but thank you so much. Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, Marianne, for this presentation that you gave us. And I am welcoming you for the next panel session that we are having right ahead our panel that we had just now. Thank you everybody for watching, Lima. Thank you everybody there for just being with us and asking every single question and being so interested in our panel sections. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, girls. See you.
Bye, Carrie.